Hi, hello, namaste friends. Welcome to our channel Ace Civil Engineer. For more interesting videos like this, please do subscribe and press the bell icon. In this video, we will understand the linear dynamic analysis method, that is response spectrum method. So in this video, we are going to discuss basically three topics friends. One is introduction to response spectrum analysis. Next is we will understand what exactly this response spectrum means. And the other one is how the response spectrum analysis is performed. So friends, before starting, I would like to tell you one thing, that this video is going to be a bit longer. My intention is to make you understand rather than making short videos. So hope you will understand and watch the complete video to understand what exactly the complete concept of response spectrum analysis is. So uh, in general, if you want to perform seismic analysis and design a particular structure that you need to build at a particular location, we generally need the actual time history record is generally needed. So what is this actually time history record friends? For suppose in a particular area there are certain seismic histories. So for those seismic histories you need to be having the exact acceleration and time graphs. So that is called as the time history record. So in most of the cases we do not have such records for many of the places. So in such case what we do friends, we generally prefer to use this response spectrum analysis. For example of any time history record, I am showing you this El Centro earthquake time history record friends. This is an earthquake which happened in 1940 in California. So if you see, this is the graph between time and acceleration of the earthquake. So this acceleration is the ground motion's acceleration. So here time is recorded from 0 to 30 seconds. So for the complete of 30 seconds, this earthquake has been recorded for its ground acceleration. Now this is what is called as the time history record. Now what happens friends, there are certain difficulties, so to overcome those all we are using this response spectrum method. I have already informed you. So the basic advantage here is it has some computational advantages using the response spectrum method of seismic analysis for prediction of displacements and member forces in the structural systems. So in this method it actually involves the calculation of only the maximum values of the displacements and also the member forces in each mode of vibration. So at every mode of vibration, it will help us in calculating the maximum displacement and maximum member forces, which is with the help of a smooth design spectra, which is generally the average of several earthquake motions. So this represents that we are considering many general earthquake motions based on which we are generating a spectra, and based on that spectra again for each mode we are finding the displacements and member forces. So initially you may be confusing because of these all heavy technical terms, but once the video finishes friends, you will definitely understand what exactly I meant to say. So let me consider one example how we are going to define this response spectrum. So before starting this response spectrum friends, I would just want to give the definition. Later I will give you the physical meaning of that. So definition, when it comes, then it can be said as response spectra are the curves plotted between maximum response of single degree of freedom system subjected to specified earthquake ground motion and its time period. So either you can consider time period or natural frequency. So what it means friends, it is a basically a curve. Response spectrum is nothing but a curve which is plotted based on the maximum response of linear single degree freedom systems. So linear single degree freedom means, for example, I have shown you here four oscillators. These four oscillators are linear single degree of freedom systems. So if you see, it is having a single mass and it is linear and it is having a particular stiffness and it has a particular natural period as t1. So I'm for this t1 we can find out the natural period as well. So if you want to find the natural frequency friends, so here I would say omega equals to root k by m. And if you want the time period, then the time period would be 2 pi by omega. 2 pi by omega means again inverse of this k by m, so it would be m by k. Got it, friends? So this is how you will find the natural period of a particular system. Now I have taken four cases which are like this. So each element or each oscillator is having a particular mass like m1, m2, m3, m4, and the respective stiffness is like k1, k2, k3, k4, and its respective time period are something like this: t1, t2, t3, t4. So here I am considering t1 is less than, t2 is less than, t3 is less than, t4. So as this is having a lesser stiffness, so it would be having a more time period, right? So 2 pi into root over m by k gives you time period, so it is inversely proportional to square root of stiffness. So there you can understand, that is the reason why it is having more time period, because of lesser stiffness. So for these, friends, what I am doing, I am going to plot the time history of its displacement for the earthquake motion, this one. So for this earthquake, what I am going to do, I am going to apply this ground motion in all these four oscillators. So in all these four oscillators, I am going to plot a graph, that is the time history of displacement. So time history of displacement means, friends, the y-axis is displacement and x-axis is time. So small t, this is x axis. So once this ground motion is applied, then what happens, from 0 to 30 seconds it will be showing some displacement curve like this, and at some point of time it would be having a maximum displacement. That maximum displacement I am going to catch up here. So here it comes, friends. Here for this curve, I mean for first oscillator, I have plotted the graph, that is for m1 here, this is for m1, this is for m2, and this is for m3, and this is for m4. So for all these masses, or for all these oscillators, I have plotted the time history of displacement. So for that I have found out some peak displacement at a particular point, at a particular interval, and that I am going to find it something like this. That is, for m1 the maximum displacement is x equals to 1 mm. For the second one is 3 mm. For the third one is 5 mm, and for the fourth one is 7 mm. Now what I will do, I will try to plot a graph with all these peak displacements. So here the x-axis will be the time period, friends. So as I already defined, this response spectrum is nothing but a curve which is plotted between the maximum response of single degree of freedom system subjected to a specified earthquake ground motion. That earthquake ground motion is this one. So subjected to that earthquake ground motion and its time period. So it is the graph between maximum response and time period. Here the maximum response what we are considering is the displacement. So here comes the graph, friends. So I have plotted the curve in green color because here I have mentioned this peak displacement in green color, so you would clearly understand what I have plotted here. So this green curve is nothing but the graph which is plotted between the peak response to the natural period. So the peak response here is the displacement. So for the oscillator which is having a time period t1, this is the point. For an oscillator which is having time period t2, this is the plot. And for oscillator which is having time period 3, t3, this is the point. So like that I have plotted a graph, and this graph is nothing but called as displacement spectra. So now I will define it again, friends, you will clearly understand. So response spectra are the curves plotted between the maximum response of single degree of freedom system subjected to a specified earthquake ground motion and its time period. So between the time period and the acceleration, between the time period, the ground acceleration and the displacement. So here you need to understand this, friends. And here one more important point what I wanted to tell you is, so when you are considering these many number of things, these many number of oscillators, see these for time being I have considered only 4 oscillators, but in general when you are generating a displacement spectra, you must be considering some n number of, means huge number of oscillators, such that each point in this graph, means in this graph what I have plotted, this green color. So each point in this graph must represent to the maximum peak displacement of a particular oscillator at that particular time period. So if I consider this point, I must be having a oscillator which is having a time period of this, and it is having a peak acceleration of this. This is how the plot is made. Hope you understood this. So I am proceeding further. Now friends, the main important point what I wanted to tell you is, when you are considering this displacement spectra, this spectra is basically arrived only for a particular damping ratio. In this case, the damping ratio I have considered, for example, as 2%. Then this complete curve or the all number of oscillators must be having the same damping ratio. If you increase the damping ratio, for suppose instead of steel, if I make it to concrete, then what happens? Concrete is having more damping ratio compared to that of steel. So then what happens? The same curve would be something like this. Again, if you consider a higher damping by providing some dampers, or by providing some friction dampers or viscous dampers, in such case what happens, if I am increasing the damping ratio to 10%, then again the next curve would be something like this. So this curve is for damping ratio 2%, this curve is for damping ratio 5%, and this curve is for damping ratio 10%. So this is how the spectral response spectrum would differ with respect to the damping ratio. So for a particular damping ratio and for a particular seismic ground motion, what happens? You need to plot the peak displacements of all the oscillators with respect to its time period. That is what is called as the response spectrum, friends. So hope you understood this. So friends, now I will show you a picture in which you can understand this concept in much more clearer way rather than what I have drawn here. So here it is, friends. Here you can see this vertical axis, that is in this picture, left side picture, the vertical axis is displacement and the horizontal axis is time period. Here what they have done is, they have considered some n number of oscillators. In this case it is like 6 oscillators. Those 6 oscillators are plotted with their displacement time history displacement curves. So with the time history displacement curves, they have found out the maximum peak displacement. So in this case, t equals to 0.5 seconds, that is the time period is 0.5 seconds for a particular oscillator. Similarly 1.5 seconds for the second oscillator. Like that they have considered 6 oscillators, and for those oscillators they have plotted this graph. And now the peak displacement whatever they have found, so that peak displacement they have marked it somewhere here. So here is the first one, next one is here, and next one is here, and next is here, like that. So these all peak displacements they have plotted as a curve, and that is called as the response spectrum curve, or else it is the response spectrum. Now now here in this case what they have done is, the time history of that displacement curve means, this portion what they have done is, they have simply shifted the displacement curve or the time history curves such that all the peak values align with the origin. So that is how they have plotted, and they made it simpler to understand. So this is from a research book, friends, that I have shown you in the here. Whereas in this right side picture, what you notice is, here for damping ratios of 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%, 15% and 20%, they have plotted the curves. So for those curves, that is the uh, they have plotted this. You see the third one here, this is the spectral displacement curve. So from this spectral displacement curve, what you understood, friends, with respect to the damping ratio. So earlier I have told you that when the damping ratio is less, in such case the excitation will be more, or else the amplitude would be more. That is how you can see here. See, in this case the maximum displacement is seen in the curve which is having a lower damping ratio. So for the red one is having 1% of damping ratio, and blue is 2%, like that. So as the dynamic ratio increases, the amplitude of displacement also decreases. Okay, now with using the spectral displacement, friends, you can find out the spectral velocity and spectral acceleration. See, spectral velocity is nothing but it is the time variant with respect to spectral displacement. Similarly, spectral acceleration is the time variant to spectral velocity. That's how you can find out. But you also do have some some parameters called as pseudo spectral velocity and pseudo spectral acceleration. These are basically arrived through using a formula in which it contains the spectral displacement only. So it is nothing new, friends. Pseudo spectral velocity is nothing but which has derived using the formula which comprises of spectral displacement values. So from that they arrive the velocity, and from velocity they arrive the spectral acceleration curve. So I hope you understood this, friends, this concept. If you really understood, then please do like the video, and also share it with your friends. And now before going to the analysis procedure, what we will understand is, see, you may have a doubt saying that in IS 1893, that is the criteria for earthquake resistant design of structures. So IS 1893, what it shows is, it shows a spectrum curve or the spectral graph, something like this, right? I think you remember. So this curve and this curve, what you are seeing, it is completely different. Why it is so? Because in IS code, if you notice the uh, title of that figure, they must have written that as a design spectrum curve. Design spectrum is different from that of response spectrum. So design spectrum is basically derived from, or it is basically arised from response spectrum only. But this design spectrum is a design specification which accounts for issues that have bearing on seismic safety. So considering the means, if you want to give some overstrength or redundancy and ductility, considering these all factors, they have normalized or averaged it out. I mean, the curve has been normalized by in this manner. So this is how, that is the reason why you see the spectral acceleration curve like this. So here you might have noticed in the code, they have given the curves for three different categories of soil. That is, one is soft, the other one is medium, and the other one is a hard or stiff soil. So the soft soil will be having a maximum amplitude. So that's why its curve is at the topmost, and remaining would be something like this, right? I hope you remember. So the bottommost one is for hard soil and the topmost one is for the soft soil. What I have mentioned here, the same concept is applicable there. Now I will show you that picture also, what has been shown in our code. So this is the graph, friends. This red one is for the soft soil, the green one is for the medium soil, and the blue one is for the rocky or hard soil stratum. So this is the curve. What we generally do, we find the time period of the particular structure or a particular mode, and based on that we will see what is the uh, spectral acceleration. That spectral acceleration, if it is 2.5, we'll consider that SA by G as 2.5, and based on that we'll find out the horizontal seismic coefficient, horizontal acceleration coefficient, that is AH value. That is nothing but Z by 2 into I by R into SA by G. And from this we find out the base shear, and the member forces also will come accordingly based on the seismic force distribution in the with respect to different stories. So that is another concept completely, so we leave it out here. Now friends, um, instead of showing this response spectrum, uh, now friends, instead of showing this response spectrum in three different graphs for acceleration, velocity and displacement, these three can be shown in a single plot. Such plots are called as a tripartite plot. So that tripartite plot would be something like this. This is a tripartite plot. So that I will spell it out here. That is tripartite. This is a tripartite plot, friends. This is basically charted out for El Centro earthquake, which I have mentioned you earlier, only in the north-south direction. So here what they do, you must be having a time period. Of course, if you have the time period, you must be having the frequency as well. So that frequency value you must be knowing. Based on that, what they do, they will find out the exact what is that velocity. So if you for suppose if the time period is zero point 0.5, or I mean if the frequency is zero point 0.5 hertz, then what happens exactly in the vertical direction, for a damping ratio or a damping factor of 0% I am considering. For this 0%, what they will do is they will find out the, okay, let me use the scale here so that you will not get confused. So for this zero point 0.5 spectral, I mean for the zero point 0.5 frequency, what they will find is they will find the velocity like this. So here, friends, they will find out what is the exact response of the spectral velocity. That they will find out something to be as 20, 40, 20, 50, 35. 35 inch per second is the velocity. Now if you want the spectral displacement and spectral acceleration, what they will do, friends, now you have to plot a 45-degree graph, 45-degree line, which must be perpendicular to this displacement curve. See, this is the displacement axis and this is the acceleration axis. So these two axes, you have to draw a perpendicular line using that at the same point. Now what I will do, I will draw a line here. Similarly, for that also I will draw a line here. Hope you can see this, friends. Here what you notice is this is some point between 20 and 55. So here displacement is in inches, so it is between 5 inches and 20 inches, this point. Whereas here you can see at this point it is between some 0.2 and 0.5 inch per I mean in terms of what is that in terms of acceleration due to gravity it is. This is how you will find out in the tripartite plot. Now we'll understand what exactly the response spectrum analysis is and how it is performed. So it is basically performed in three different manners, friends. One is SRSS method, the other one is absolute sum method, the another one is CQC method. So that I will note it down here. See, for a particular structure you will be having some n number of modes. So the first one is the nominal mode. So for that mode number 1, you will be having some frequency. Similarly, mode number 2, 3, 4, each mode you will be having different frequencies, omega 2, omega 3, omega 4. So based on this frequency, what happens, you will be having some response. With respect to this frequency, you will get some base shear VB1, VB2, VB3, VB4, like that. It keeps going on till VBN. And with what happens, friends, each mode will be having a different base shear. So to summarize that, for the whole structure, for suppose you are having a structure something like this, for this structure you will be needing the what is the exact base shear based on response spectrum analysis. So when you have these all base shears for each mode, what we will do is we are having basically three methods. One is absolute sum method, ABS method, the other one is SRSS method, the other one is CQC method. So in this ABS method, what happens, friends, the final base shear, that is VB, is basically calculated as sigma I equals to 1 to n mod VB I. So sum of all this gives you the maximum base shear. So that is very much conservative, friends, and it is not at all economical. So you must be understanding by this time now. See, for mode 1 you will be having a base shear of 500. Now for mode 2 you will be having some 300. and for mode 3 again you will be having some 200. So if you add these all, these are not realistically true. So I mean, in such case, what happens? We generally try to avoid this. Now coming to SRSS method, my friends. So in SRSS method, what happens? The final VB is nothing but it is the square root of sum of squares. So once you first you write square root of sum of squares, that is sigma I equals to 1 to n VBI square. So sum of all this VB1 square plus VB2 square plus VB3 square till VBN square and square root of that. That gives you the VB value, final VB value. This is in most of the times we generally use this, but when the modes or the frequencies of these modes are very much closely spaced, then what happens? The final result you may not get the proper value. And also one disadvantage with this SRSS method is when you are squaring this thing, when you are using this square, what happens? The sign gets nullified. So whatever, if you in one mode you will be having a positive base year, in the other mode you will be having a negative base year, and this will lead to the sum of all positive, means all magnitude values you will be happening. So this is also in some cases it is avoided. And best method what I can say is CQC method. This CQC method is nothing but complete quadratic combination method. So this complete quadratic combination method will be erased based on here. If you see square root of sigma I equals to 1 to n, sigma j equals to 1 to n Ri into alpha ij into Rj. So here Ri and Rj are the seismic response for ith mode and jth mode respectively. Means for first mode Ri is nothing but VB1. For the second mode Rj is nothing but VB2. So like that, and this alpha ij is nothing but a correlation coefficient. So it is simply a coefficient based on some empirical formula we do find it. So that much detail I am not going into in this video, friends. So Ri and Rj, so this is nothing but a simple quadratic expression. Hope you understood this concept very well, friends. Thank you. That's all about this video, friends and family members. If you had any comments, queries, or if you had any topics in your wish list, then please do let me know by commenting in the comment section. I hope you liked the video. If yes, please do like it. I will be creating more interesting videos like this. Please do subscribe to get updated as soon as I keep posting videos. Share my video to all your friends and family members. Don't forget to press the bell icon.